Okay, so just a quick review from last week when we had the two different burial stories. One of them had them going up to the cave of Machpelah, the EP story. And we were reminded how Abraham bought that cave and the field from Ephraim the Hittite in Canaan. And in the other one, we have Joseph and his brothers taking Jacob, who has been embalmed, up to the other side, the east bank of the Jordan River, and burying him in the field of the perhaps threshing floor of Atad, the Goren Atad, which then the Canaanites renamed as Avel Mitzrayim. And in fact, if you Google, and if you Google, you have to put a B in there, and it's Abel Mitzrayim, you'll get actually a Wikipedia story about that biblical, the Genesis chapter 50, where it is. But here it is, not named on the map. But the question was, how did they get to the other side of the water of the Jordan River without crossing water? So just to remind you, Goshen is the Nile Delta of Egypt. And Egypt was, for the most part, here on the west side of the Nile River. Goshen is up at the Delta area, which is a lot of different waterways, so a lot of flooding, a lot of fertile land, a lot of grazing. And the direct route to Israel, back to Canaan, would have been right along the coast, right along this yellow line, up to Hebron, up to Mamre, up to all of the areas that we have the Canaanite biblical story going on. And we're told specifically in Exodus, when we get to there, that God said, I'm not sending you that way, because right here on the coast are the Amalekites.
Ooh.
And we want to make sure we stay away from them. So they go south of the Amalekites. And you'll notice here below the Dead Sea, there's hills.
Yeah.
There's no water to cross. You don't get water until you get down to the below the map to the Gulf of Eilat, the Gulf of Aqaba, the inlet from the Red Sea. And they crossed here below the Dead Sea when they were taking in that particular story. You notice they go, and now they're over in the Arabian Peninsula, up into Jordan. They're up on the east side of the Dead Sea, the east side of the Jordan River, which is flowing from the top here of the Lake Kinneret, Sea of Galilee, Jordan River coming down through Machanaim, all the way down to the Dead Sea, and then stopping.
Where's Mount Sinai?
Mount Sinai, that's a good question. Depending on whether Mount Sinai is this thing here in the middle of the Sinai Desert, or way over here in the middle of the Arabian Peninsula, which is more likely, in that they probably, the Reed Sea that they crossed, the walls of water was probably not the Suez Canal, but was probably way over here down by Eilat and Aqaba. But they spend most of their journey in, and remember, they're going through later in Numbers, they're going through Edom and Moab, who are all here around the word miles under the red. So all of their journeys are going up here, and somewhere over here in the area that's labeled on the map as Machanaim would have been then in Jordan, in the east bank of the Jordan River, would have been what the Canaanites called Abel Mitzrayim, Avel Mitzrayim.
Well, you know something, though? They still could have done it shorter if they went to the left of the river and just got closer in.
They could have.
Why was God pushing them to go the long distance?
God didn't, in the red story, remember in our red story, God didn't push them. They decided to go and bury him. And for some reason, they followed the red route to go to bury him.
So that's like Joshua in Joshua, they crossed the Jordan up there,
Exactly. That's why Joshua, when he takes over from Moses, is on this side of the Jordan River. And he has to cross over to get into Israel.
So This is great.
Could
Thank
you
you
go
for
back
the
there a
information.
second and just show a couple of my, could you show where Cairo is and Gaza on that map?
Okay, so Cairo's not on the map. Cairo's way over here on the left side of the map. See, this is the delta of the Nile. The Nile flows down south. Actually, it flows from the south at the bottom of the map. Cairo is on the west bank of the Nile River.
Mhm.
Gaza is the Amalekites right here.
Okay.
Yes, they're still there.
This is Gaza right here.
Mhm.
And the Sinai
The
is,
Sinai is this
Between
stuff
two.
down below. All right, now back to they finished burying. And let's get them back home to Egypt. My computer is acting up.
What's the difference between the word for dwell and this Yashav returned?
Oh, okay, the word return is shov, shin vav vet, or shin yud vet. The word for dwell is yud shin vet.
You're frozen, Rabbi.
I know, and so is my computer.
Wait, but this is Yud Shin Vet. So, but you have returned.
All right, I may be coming back to you. My computer itself froze up. I've got to close the whole program.
Hmm.
Up for all of us?
We'll wait.
We'll be here.
Can you hear us, Rabbi Sam? No, you can't.
Mm.
should we make our spring summer date before everyone has a full calendar?
He already talked about that before. He said we'll probably do it at the end of the June.
Yeah,
But we'll talk about, we gotta talk about more his,
What
you know
day
what.
of what day of the week is that? Sunday?
Diane, are you still willing to
I'll
do your
drive.
thing?
Yeah, I could drive.
Mean to
No, I mean purchasing stuff.
Oh, yeah, I would do that.
The date, could someone know the date? It's some. in
Not
June?
yet, not
He
yet.
wasn't,
Better
he
with
wasn't certain, Jeff, about a Sunday versus a weekday.
Right.
Okay, so I gotta make sure I'm around. I keep missing it because I'm not around.
I know.
That sounds bad, actually.
Yeah, I have to check also. I have something in June, but
Let's see here.
I mean, the
So-
29th would work. The thing is, it's kind of better on a weekend because there's less traffic.
Not in the summer.
There's a
Mean
lot
to
of
go up-
traffic in the
you're saying
summer.
to go up to New Hampshire?
Mm-hmm. Oh, here it comes.
Here we are.
Diane, send your email to us.
okay.
Your address.
Yeah.
All right,
No,
let's
Raymond.
hope my computer is no longer acting up. I think it was didn't like that I was trying to open too many windows and share them all at the same time.
So back to Yoshev would be dwelled, right? The word Yoshev.
Yes, Yoshev is dwell. Shov or shav is come on.
It's like shuv, the return.
Right,
Like Shuva, Shuva.
right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah, that right, Shishluva.
But there's no yud on this, I mean, except for the beginning, which is a grammatical thing, I think.
No, it's a yud.
Yud? That's
No, but-
above. That's
But he
above.
said it was
Good.
returned was shin vet yud. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, but this is to dwell and
No,
dwell.
shin yud
Oh,
vet.
this is to return.
Oh, is-
What are the roots of the two words? Shorish.
Okay, my Acrobat is not, my Adobe is not opening.
Gotta go to New Mexico to get that.
I can see you.
It's a good one, Emily.
Yep.
Yes.
Emily, I have the same
All right, you guys keep talking. I'm gonna have to try this again.
But you're there.
Okay.
Okay.
You have the same what, Mona?
I have the same blue jacket that you have there.
This was
Yeah.
your shirt.
Well, mine's actually more like a little jacket.
Oh, really?
Similar pattern.
Huh, interesting. This is a flannel shirt. I just like to wear it because it's his.
Understandable. Hey, Fran, are you
Sorry,
still
I'm eating
going?
my lunch. I'm going away, going quickly after this somewhere.
Am I still?
Going to physical therapy?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, I stopped now. My therapist said that I'm doing good. I just have to keep rotating it and doing exercises.
Mhm.
But
My
It's-
PT is for balance, so I don't fall. And so far, since I've done this since last year, I haven't fallen once. And
Which
before
is
Oh, good.
I fell over the
good.
place.
I'm not sure
Oh,
if Kirk's
wow.
gonna have to do PT. We'll find out.
I balance
He
and all.
should. He should. You got to build up those tendons and muscles.
Yeah.
It takes a long time at our age to
It
heal.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on this trip, I mean, I was definitely the oldest at 87. Most people were like 10 or 20 years younger than me, but I managed to do the whole trip and not get injured on the trip and not fall and not whatever.
Where did you
Awesome.
go?
But I
Diane,
see it's more of a challenge now than it was, like 10 years ago.
I
So you
can see
can-
the
All right,
difference
one
even when
more
I take a walk.
time. Into the
Where-
fray.
Okay.
Diane, where'd you
Here
go?
we are.
All right.
Okay, so
Yay.
here, by Yashov, here the root is the shav part, which is the return.
Right.
Vayashav, and he returned. If it was he dwelled, it would be Vayeshev, and then the root would be the Yeshev, the Yud Shin Bet. Here the root is just the Shin Bet. Vayeshev, and he dwelled, which we'll see next week, is Yud Shin Bet. The actual root of Shin, of returning, is actually Shuv or Shiv, where the middle letter is the Yud
Yeah.
or the Vav.
The middle letter is the what?
The Yud or the Vav.
Sure. Oh, yeah, sure. Yes. Yes, sir.
All right, so reading now, here we are. So they've finished burying in this across the Jordan River place. And again, remember in the story, we're not told that they actually buried him. They took him there and they did mourn him, and then we're told, and they left after they buried him, but we're not given a location for the burial of Jacob. Vayashav Yosef Mitzrayma, hu ve'echav, v'chol ha'olim ito, likbor et aviv, acharei kavru et aviv. So Vayashav Yosef, Joseph returned Mitzrayma toward Egypt.
Word.
That aha at the end, remember, tells us directionality.
Mm-hmm.
So in English, we would probably say return to Egypt, but Mitzrayma just gives us in the direction of Egypt. And if he gets there, then the Torah would say something like, and he came to, or he arrived at, or he dwelled in. So here they're just heading back Egyptward. And the Vayashav is the singular, so it's who? He is the one who returned. And then we're told the Echav and his brothers, who are not included in the verb. They're just part of him. V'chol ha'olim, and all who went up with him, and all the goers up. Olim is going up. So remember, he took up with him a whole bunch of attendants and servants and charioteers and horsemen, and so he doesn't leave anybody behind. He goes up, and he returns along with his brothers and all who went up, Ito with him. And they went up, we're reminded, they went up Likbor et Aviv, to bury his father. Again, notice it's not their father, but his father. Acharei kavru et Aviv, after burying him, his father. Kavro et Aviv. Kavar o, literally buried him, and the him is Aviv, his father.
Mhm.
Is the word ha'olim at all related to olam?
Yeah, no, it's not olam, it's oleh. Oleh, aliyah. Olim is the plural of oleh, not olam.
Why did they have to state it twice that they buried his father?
Make sure that since they never really told you where, yes, it did happen. He did bury him. We're just not telling you where. We
Okay.
don't want you to know. But it's not in our land, the red story people are saying. Jacob is not buried in Judah. Jacob, remember, is buried up in Ephraim, up in the northern kingdom.
What is acharei?
After burying him, his father. So he's buried. They're returning home. 15. Vayir'u achei Yosef ki met avihem, vayomru lu yistumenu Yosef, vahashev yashiv lanu et kol hara'ah asher gamalnu oto. So vayir'u, the root is seeing, ro'eh. Vayir'u, and they saw. Who's the they? Achei Yosef, the brothers of Yosef. And they saw, ki met avihem, dad is dead. For died or for dead, avihem, their father.
Mhm.
So they've gone up with a dead body, spent a whole bunch of time mourning the dead body, spent some time burying the dead body someplace, and suddenly it struck them, hey, dad's dead.
Guess what?
And they say, Vayomru, and they say, Lu. Lu is perhaps.
That's perhaps.
Lu with an U is perhaps. Lo with an O would be to him. Lo with an aleph would be no or not.
How about to them? Let
So
him.
Lu, just perhaps. To them would be lahem.
You
Nothing
said you said in the notes to him.
It's possible. But Lu Yistamenu. Yeah. No, they said Lu, probably when I was doing it, I saw Lo. But Lu Yistamenu, perhaps will hate. Yeah, no, in my translation, I left the Lu out completely. Notice in the quote, I said will hate.
Oh, I thought it was like to him.
No.
Okay.
Vayomru Lu Yistamenu. Perhaps will hate Yosef, us. Joseph will hate us. And here, Vahashev Yashiv. Here we have the full root of the Shiv, the returning. And this is in the causative form of the verb.
Cause to return. Bring
Cause to return.
back.
Or will bring Lanu to us. Will return upon us. So Joseph will return to us in Hashev Yashiv, literally in returning will return. He will return.
Well, that makes sense. In returning, he might return us.
Will return to us.
Return to us.
And
all
then the
that.
et tells us what he will return to them.
Right.
What the payback is going to be. So you could call this payback.
Mhm.
Perhaps Joseph will pay us back.
Would the word yishtamenu, would that word be the opposite of love, like ohev?
Yes. Despise. Probably better despise than hate,
Mm-hmm.
or have a very negative emotion towards us. Why? Because of kol hara'ah asher gamalnu oto. All the bad,
Mm-hmm.
he will pay us back for all the bad that gamalnu oto, that we, and I translate here as did. Gamal is an interesting word because it's actually a doing of giving some gift, or doing some giving to. Usually gamal, when it comes from God, is a good thing. But here the gamal was, we didn't give him good stuff. We gave him ra'ah.
That was our gift.
That's some gift.
Yeah.
We gave him a pit.
So this is weird. Isn't this close to the word gamal, like camel?
Not only close, it is the same word as the word for camel.
But that's weird.
Why? The camel is what gives us transportation across the desert.
Oh.
It's the transportation giver.
In modern Hebrew, would you say gomalnu if we gave?
Well, no, not usually. But we have the benching gomel.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
When you heal from an illness, you go and give thanks for the
Mhm.
health that has been given back to you. And there we say, Gemalanu kol tov, who has given us good, as opposed to the brothers who Gemalnu kol ra, who has given us all the bad. So Joseph is going to pay us back for all the bad stuff we did to him. So they have to
Mm-hmm.
somehow eliminate that possibility. 16. Vayitzavu el Yosef lemor, avicha tziva livanu lifnei moto lemor. So vayitzavu, they commanded to El Yosef, to Joseph. This is strange. With all that they're saying, we're your servant and we are in your debt. Now they're commanding Joseph.
It's two loves with dots in them.
Well, the Vayitzav, they commanded, they commanded. Vayitzav commanded, Vayitzav, they commanded. It's not Vayatzu, Vayitzavu, they commanded. The question is, whom did they command?
Yosef.
Well, if we think about what comes up, when they are then sending a message to Joseph, and later in the text, they're going to come to Joseph. So they command Joseph and then they come to him. So there may be something missing or understood in the story. Vayitzavu, a messenger, El Yosef. They commanded a messenger to go to Yosef and say, which would make a lot more sense. They are in a position to command someone to carry a message. They're not exactly in a position to command anything of Joseph. So they commanded a messenger to deliver the message to Joseph. And here's the message that was commanded to deliver to Joseph. Avicha, your father, which again makes more sense as a messenger carrying than as the brothers talking to Joseph. Not our father, but your father. So here's the text. Here's the facts that they sent to Joseph, because they were, of course, pretext They were old-fashioned. They used fax machines.
Mm.
Your fathers, Avicha Tziva, your father commanded, Lifnei Moto, before he died, Lemor, as follows. Here comes an internal quotation mark within the larger quotation mark. Here's what your father said, commanded, and of course we have nowhere in the text where this was done by Jacob before he died. So this is the brother saying that your father commanded, so it must have been commanded us, gave us a message that he didn't give to you. And here's the message. Ko tomru liYosef, thus you will all say to Joseph. So Jacob, before he died, called Joseph's brothers in for a private meeting and said to them, this is what I want you to say after I die to Joseph. So it's a fairly convoluted story as far as all the quotation marks of who's saying what to whom about what. So verse 17, Ko tomru liYosef, Ana sana pesha achecha, v'chatatam, ki ra'a gimalucha, ve'ata sana lefesha avdei Elohei avicha, vayevk Yosef b'dabram elav. So we have to take apart verse 17.
Tough one.
Ko tomru, this is supposedly Jacob saying to Joseph's brothers, thus you all will say, liYosef to Joseph. Here's what I want you to say to Joseph after I die. Ana, please. Sana, lift up, please. And laset is to bear, to carry, to lift up. So sana, lift up or bear, carry, please, the pesha avachecha, the iniquity of your brothers. And pesha is one of the words we see on Yom Kippur when we talk about our chet, our pesha, our avon, our sins, our iniquities, our transgressions. So
Difference between ana as please and na as please.
na is connected to the verb. Ana stands by itself. Ana would be sort of, oh, please. Sana, please. Lift up, please.
Rhymes.
Oh, okay.
And so carry the burden of, or raise up, or lift up, or hold on to, or bear the pesha of achecha, the iniquity of your brothers. V'chatatam, and their chet, and their sin. So, you're going to have to carry the burden of your brother's iniquities and sins.
What's the difference between sin and an iniquity?
Well, that's why do we have 3 words on Yom Kippur?
Just 3?
Chet, pesha, and avon.
I know what het is, but I don't know the difference between iniquity and sin.
No, well, the rabbis don't either, so they have lots of stories in Midrashim about it. Because we have 3 things on Yom Kippur that we did wrong that we're supposed to atone for, and so there must be 3 different levels or 3 different grades or 3 different types. So chet, according to one midrash, is a thread of silk, easily broken.
Well, I know it also means missing the mark.
Right. Pesha is like a rope that binds you, much harder to break away from, and avon is like metal cables, very difficult to break once it's got its hold on you. So it's easy to get away from chet, a lot harder to get away from your pesha, and almost impossible to get away from your avon. So don't let your sins grow into avons. So therefore we need 3, I don't know, what's the difference in English between sin, iniquity, and transgression? You have to go back into the roots of each one. But there are 3 biblical words, 3 Yom Kippur words, so we need 3 English words. But in this particular case, your brothers did both a pesha and a chet to you.
They did a double whammy.
Yes. Ki ra'a gemalucha, for bad they delivered to you, they gave to you, they did to you. Ve'ata with an ayin, and now sana, bear again, please. You hold on, you bear the burden of lepesha of de Elohe, the iniquities of the servants of the God of your father. So
I
now,
thought that was lift up, please.
well, lift up, sure. Somehow you've got to hold up the sins. You can't visit, don't return it to them. Bear it, bear their sin, bear their iniquity, bear their wrongdoings. And it is now your brothers are being called Avdei Elohe Avicha, the servants of the God of your fathers. So now they've said to Joseph, they've commanded a messenger to carry the message to Joseph, which says to Joseph, your father told us before he died to tell you the following.
A little
Your brothers,
self-serving, yeah.
your brothers did a lot of rotten things to you, and now it's your responsibility to hold on to and to bear and to carry the burden of and to lift up all that they did rather than returning or paying them back for it.
Well, it's like asking him to forgive them totally and take and live with it.
Exactly. It's exactly what he's doing, but he has to they have to put a lot more words into the mouth of their father to say that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, they said, Dad said, suck it up, bro.
So why should he believe them? Why wouldn't his father just tell him that?
Well, that's this whole thing about the father never said it to Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
We have no story that the father ever called the brothers in for a separate meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So it certainly would seem to be that once again, the brothers are scheming against Joseph
Yeah.
for their own protection or their own sake or whatever. So again, we're being asked to decide whether this is a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. Should we emulate Joseph? Should we emulate the brothers? Should we emulate Jacob? Should we, in fact, learn from all of them that they didn't know how to do it right?
And Joseph,
That gets back into the question of what do we do with this story and why are we being told the story in such a complex and convoluted way?
Mm-hmm.
Are the brothers, if you want to read it as such, are the brothers in fact regretting what they did and seeking to make amends? Or are they not really fully regretting what they did and seeking to get out of any payback?
Well, it sounds like the latter. Otherwise, they would say from their own thing, please forgive. Right?
Well, or it's very hard to ask somebody for forgiveness for that. So you sometimes have to go sort of convoluted way of saying, I really don't know how to say I'm sorry, so I'm sort of going to say I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But I really am sorry. But I don't know how to say it. So here's how I say it.
Joseph,
Yeah.
good guy.
Yeah, again, this is, what we do with this story and what we were supposed to do when this story was told. Why was it being told and what was it being told in order to tell the people how to relate to each other, especially family?
Mm-hmm.
Joseph now hears their words, ending verse 17, Vayevk. He's doing a lot of weeping in these stories. Vayevk, and he wept. And the weeping
Where's
person
Vayevk?
is Joseph.
Where's Vayek in the text?
Verse
Right here.
18.
Right before the 18. Vayevk Yosef, and Joseph wept.
That's hard to
What did he
say.
weep over? Bidabram elav. He wept over the words of his of them to him. So they're not actually talking to him if we really think about this scenario. They're commanding somebody to carry the message to Joseph. And he hears the message and he gets their words, Dabram, their words, Elav, to him. And he wept over the words that they sent to him. These words claiming that their father said to Joseph to do this. But is Joseph then knowing that this is the only way they can put it into words and say they're sorry? Are they feeling so overwhelmed now with the guilt that they don't even know how to seek atonement or forgiveness for their guilt? Is this coming out of the depths of guilt that they don't even know how to handle because all of the Egyptian psychologists are not practicing in Goshen?
But what I see is that they still feel guilty, but they didn't accept his acceptance when he accepted them at the beginning.
Exactly. He's already forgiven them,
Yeah.
but he forgave them while Dad was alive.
So
And
they
now
still
that
feel
Dad is-
guilty that he's going to do retribution or something now that dad's
Exactly.
gone.
Well,
And
well,
are they
the other
feeling
aspect to consider here, if you want to go the sort of spiritual way, is that the brothers really haven't grown, but Joseph has, and they don't understand that he really has moved on, which is why they're fearful because they think he's going to do it again to them.
Very good.
Mm.
Basically, he's grown, but they haven't.
exactly? And all of those interpretations are correct or available within the Torah passage. Or are they, in fact, uh, reflecting on how they would have reacted if they were in Joseph's place? Would they have sought payback and revenge?
Right.
Probably.
And yeah, and again, that's to that point that they haven't really grown well through this whole experience. Joseph has.
By the way,
So
Rabbi,
18
I'm switching to the phone, I think, because I have to go somewhere, but I'm still listening.
Okay. 18. Vayelchu gam echav vayiplu lefanav vayomru hineni lecha la'avadim. So again, the scenario makes more sense that they've sent these words to Joseph rather than said them, because now in 18, vayelchu,
Came to
and they went.
Oh, they went.
They went. And who went? Gam echav, also his brothers.
Oh, his brothers wept. It's a they.
They are now going. So
Not
they're
what-
the ones who are going. So previously their words went, and now Gam Echav, now they also go.
before.
They follow the messenger in. They go, and what's the first thing they do? Well, of course, Vayiplu lefanav, they fell on their faces. This is our sign of humility, reverence, respect, submission. They fell on their faces, Vayomru, and they said, or probably mumbled into the ground, Hineni lecha la'avadim, behold us, Hinenu, behold us, lecha la'avadim, to you we are for servants.
Mm.
So they bow down, they fall on their faces, they tripped over the doorpost or the rock at the entrance to his room. They stepped off the curb and fell down
Which
on
is
their
the word
faces.
face. I only see that they fell before him.
Well, Vayiplu lefanav, they fell either before him or literally lefanav, each to his face.
Okay.
Panim.
Mhm.
So we can change the interpretation. Yeah, lifnei is before, but literally it's to the face of.
Mhm.
Mm.
So however they're falling down, they're stumbling, they're falling on their faces, they're bowing down. Certainly they're not just striding in arrogantly. And they say, we are your servants. 19. Vayomer Alehem Yosef, al tira'u ki hatachat Elohim ani. So Vayomer Alehem, and he said to them, that's Joseph, Joseph said to them, al tira'u, do not fear. Yira here is afraid or fearing. But it's also the word we use for awe. I like to translate it as tremble. because it's something that inspires trembling within a person, which can be awe, can be fear. So al tira'u, do not tremble, do not fear, do not be filled with awe and perhaps guilt. Ki hatachat Elohim ani, for ha, remember there is here comes a question. The statement would be tachat Elohim ani, under or in place of God Elohim ani I. Question, am I the one in place? Can I replace God? Am I under God? Am I in place of God? And of course, the answer is yes, in the Egyptian system, because that he was placed under Pharaoh, who is God, and he's tachat Elohim, he's under God. So is this a rhetorical question? Is this a satirical or ironic question? Is this a true question? But they're coming and pleading for mercy from him, and he's basically saying, mercy comes from God, not from me. So is that forgiving, or is that don't be afraid, because even though I would love to seek revenge, I won't, because that's God's job. So is Joseph saying, don't worry, I'm not the one who's going to bring your karma on you? So again, interpret verse 19 as you like, whether you want to, what you want to do with the growth and the relations and the emotions of Joseph and his brothers here in coming up to their final time with each other before Joseph will die next week, actually in 2 weeks. Verse 20, V'atem chashavtem alai ra'ah, Elohim chashava l'tova, l'ma'an aso kayom hazeh, l'hachayot amrav. So, v'atem chashavtem, and you, chashav is to think. Chashavtem, you thought. You thought alai on me, ra'ah, bad. But Elohim chashava l'tova, but God, Elohim, thought,
Good.
chashava, thought for me, for tova, for good. You thought you were doing bad, but in God's plan, you were doing good. The good was, Lama'an aso kayom, in order that we would have the doings of today. It will be done as it is hayom hazeh, on this day, where lahachayot amrav, where I have been able to keep alive a large contingent of peoples. Amrav, many people, or a multitude of people, or great people.
Yeah.
So you thought you were doing bad. God had plans to get me down here so I could keep a lot of people alive.
Yeah. He's the one who has done the better, he's grown.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He's the good guy.
And now next, in 2 weeks, our last section,
All right, I'll wait and then I'll go.
we have to finish the why story, the red. The ata al tira'u, again, notice the word yira, fear, tremble, be afraid. The ata al tira'u anochi achal kel etchem, ve'et tapchem, ve'yenachem otam, vayedaber al libam, vayeshev Yosef b'Mitzrayim, and there's the Yeshev sitting or dwelling. Notice the Yud comes before the Shin Bet. Vayeshev Yosef b'Mitzrayim, hu uveit aviv, vayechi Yosef mea ve'eser shanim. And the red story ends the book of Genesis with Joseph dying. But again, because we have a red story and we have a blue story, just as Jacob had to die twice, now Joseph has to die twice. So we return finally to the blue story, which last time we left, Jacob was being buried in the cave of Machpelah, and they all returned back to Egypt. And now, Vayar Yosef leEphraim b'nei Shileshim, gam b'nei Machir ben Menashe, Yuldu al Birkei Yosef. So the blue story is more concerned with Ephraim, because that's who the blue story is from and about. So Joseph through Ephraim, whereas the red story is Joseph through his brothers. 24. Vayomer Yosef el Echav, Anochi met, Velohim pakod yifkod etchem, Vehe'ela etchem min haaretz hazot, al haaretz asher nishba la'Avraham liYitzchak u'Yaakov. 25. Vayashba Yosef et bnei Yisrael lemor. Pakod yifkod Elohim etchem v'ha'alitem et atzmotai mizeh. Vayamot Yosef again, he dies again. Vayamot Yosef ben mea ve'eser shanim, vayechantu oto, vayisem ba'aron b'Mitzrayim. We have finished the book of Genesis. Chazak.
Chazak.
V'nit chazek. Strengthening, we must strengthen each other and bring strength. We finished the book of Genesis.
We should have a party.
For the first time.
That's right. We should have a party.
As of May 18.
You say 2 weeks this is going to be?
Yes, because next week is Mommy Day.
Bye, everybody. Have a good
Bye,
week.
Mona.
All right.
Have a good
Bye,
Mother's
Mona.
Take
Day.
care, everyone. Be well.
Bye.
And a good Mother's Day to mothers.
Thanks for telling me
Yeah.
that. Good class.
Yes.
Oh, we left
I think he left.
for a reason? Are we making a plan?
Well, so I'll try to send everyone my email, and I don't know how much we're collecting for his gift,
Ah,
but I'd be glad to buy whatever it is we decide we want to get.
oh,
I
very
never
nice.
Last year, what you
I
got?
guess it depends on the date we're going, but I could buy it as soon as I would get a check. So I'm gonna send my email and address to Mona because she has everyone's emails, and I don't know if I have everyone's, and she can disperse it to everybody.
What
Thanks,
did you get,
Diana.
Diane? What did you get last year?
I got 2 or 3 different restaurants, gift certificates. We got a gift certificate to the Israel bookstore, and we made a donation to the movie theater. That's what we did. So I don't know what we want
Very
to do
nice.
this year, what we'll do.
How about if we got an introduction to a publisher so we can publish these books?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know how we could manage that.
We could Xerox it for us. Get a gift certificate from FedEx copying.
Do you remember what you collected last year? About
Pardon?
how much?
I don't remember how much I collected, but it was a substantial amount. I think I got, I don't know, it was close to $1,000. I had, some people donated more than others. So it really doesn't matter. Everyone should donate what they wish to.
Mhm.
Some people were very generous, and then I just made up however much we needed for whatever we needed to buy.
Mhm.
So it all worked out really well. And
Mhm.
since I live in the neighborhood, so I could really get the restaurants that they like.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
and I see Jenny like very often. Like on Wednesdays, we have this meetup group that we meet at the Marriott. So in our conversation, I could find out what restaurants they like.
Mhm.
And
How many people show up for that?
how many people came for the summer get together?
No, for the in
Wednesday.
Marriott. I'm sort of curious at the Marriott.
How many people contributed?
No, how many people typically come to the Marriott?
Oh, how many people come? It ranges, let's see usually it's about 6, but sometimes it's 8. We
Mhm.
on occasion had 10.
Mhm.
depends, whatever people feel like coming, they do, but Jenny is almost always there,
Mhm,
and, I try to come whenever I'm available,
mhm.
and,
Lily
whoever, ooh,
Lily came this last time.
pardon?
Lily came this last time.
Yeah, yeah, it's very nice, it's, everyone just chats, and
Mhm.
it's pleasant and friendly, and
Is it all women?
no, we have, Les, I don't remember his last name, Les and Isla are a couple that, belong to the synagogue, so they come almost always. Alan, but I don't know his last name, comes. Let's see who else. I guess that's it as far as I know. And then the rest are women. I usually try to go if I'm free. Um, Phyllis Goldstein usually goes. Let's see who else. And Tammy Mitchell goes when she's available. I guess that's basically, and yeah, and then we get, a variety of people that come, once or twice, come back. It depends.
And can you get something to eat there, or people bring lunch?
No,
How does
no,
it
no one
work?
brings any food. They only have water. That's
Mhm.
that's all we. That's
No
all they
coffee?
supply.
No coffee there?
No coffee. And they only have that during breakfast, and we never get there at 10 o'clock. That's like
Mhm.
the end of their breakfast, so we
Okay.
can't get anything, after that. And then they have dinner, but that's late, so
Yeah.
not much food.
Mhm,
You could bring something if everyone like wants to have a snack. Like for the poetry, um, people bring lunch if they wish to.
mhm, mhm.
And that's really very nice. That's every other week on a Monday. I mean, I haven't been for such a long time because I've been away so much. I'm
Mhm.
just happy to be home. I'm glad it's been, like 2 months or maybe more that I've been away.
Get to see everybody.
I know, it's nice to see everybody. And then, my trip to Morocco was sponsored by Temple Israel. And so I went to their services last night, and they were honoring a rabbi emeritus. They must have had, I would say, close to 500 people. I could not believe how many people were there. It was huge. They had it in the main sanctuary. And that was the first time I was there. And the only reason I came is I really wanted to see the people that were on our trip because we had just come home and it was sort of nice to be with them again. Um, but I was really surprised with it's reformed, so it's, really reformed service, with very musical. They had a violinist and a keyboard, I think, and, something else. And they had like 3 or 4 rabbis, or 2 of them sang, and a cantor. It was really a lovely service, but it was really huge. Well, it was huge because they were honoring this rabbi emeritus. They say normally they don't get that many people, and it's in their chapel, but this time it was in their big sanctuary.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't believe how many people were there. It was
What's the
huge.
name of the rabbi emeritus?
I think Friedman is his name, Rabbi Friedman. And they have a female rabbi as the main rabbi. And she was on the trip that we were on, so I really got to know her. And I have to, this is probably the last trip like this that I'll take. It was such an upscale trip. I had never, ever been on a 5-star trip before. It was really,
Temple Israel.
Me?
and then, I mean, a lot of the people on this trip are really wealthy. 2 of them one lives in a place called the Esplanade. So I looked up the condo, what they sell for, and 1 bedroom and 1 bath sells for close to $2 million. I mean, it's way out of my sights. But it was like interesting. People were really nice. They were so nice. And I think I was the only one on this particular trip that came from parents that are like first, that they came here as children. Everyone else that I met on the trip had parents that were either doctors or lawyers or something. So they came from a really different background than I did. But it was,
German Jews, I'll bet.
um,
Form.
I don't know. They didn't speak much about their heritage, so I really don't know. It was a very educated group.
What temple is
I
there?
would say a big portion were doctors and lawyers. That was probably the main, and business people. Those were the main professions that I, that I learned about.
Whose trip was
But
it? Temple,
pardon?
whose trip was it? Like Temple Israel?
Yeah, Temple Israel. Yeah, but they said like they have a lot of classes. That's one thing that's really interesting. And if you pay like $100 a year, you can go to any classes that you want. And they must have like 6 or 7 ongoing through the season, which are quite interesting.
Interesting.
So it was a, very different, really very different than TBC, I would say.
It sounds very different.
However, even though the people on my trip are, coming from a wealthier background, nobody supported Trump. We all, in any
Good
conversation
to
we
know.
had, we all were
No one admitted to
really
supporting
concerned
Trump.
with what's happening to our democracy.
No one admitted to it, you're saying.
Yeah, yep.
But Trump is
So
not.
it was really, but Morocco really was as fascinating. I really did enjoy it.
Oh, very nice, Diane.
But now I realize
Wonderful.
that everyone was like 20 to 15 years younger than me, that it's really hard for me to go on a trip like that. It was a lot of steps with no handrails and a lot of walking and a lot of whatever. I managed to do it all, but it was a challenge for me sometimes.
Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
87 and a half.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So
And Jeffrey?
I will be 79 in June.
mhm,
So yeah.
yeah.
So that's 18 years.
Yeah, so you're the elder of our group then.
Yeah. I always seem to be the eldest in any group that I'm part of,
I was thinking of my contemporary. I don't know.
So, I got a call from a friend. I was, interested in voting. I have one friend who's really active in the community, and I always call her to see who to vote for. And so she recruited me to be on the membership committee for Brookline Can, that group that is for seniors and whatever. Well, I said, okay, I'll see as long as I'm not in charge, because I didn't want to be in charge of that, but it'll be interesting to work on the membership, I think. See what happens.
Newton, we're getting a new senior building.
Oh, really?
You are?
Wait,
Yeah.
you're in Newton?
You're in Newton.
Newtonville,
Newtonville, Newton in Florida, right?
Newton and Flower, Newton and Sarasota.
So which is the new building?
It's well, it's where the old building was. It's like on the corner of, I think, Highland Ave and Walnut Street. And it's a very large building now. Before it was a smaller building.
Well, like I think what's happening is there's so many people that are living longer that the older population is really a bigger portion of the people that are living in whatever communities they are. So I think, that the senior, um, you know, types of organizations are really very important.
My grandfather lived until he was like in the 60s. And he was,
Mm.
and
It's really interesting because nobody in my family lived to the age that I am. They all died between 60 and 70. And my sister and I are only ones cousins in our generation that are still alive. It's really, you
What
Interesting.
kind of building do you live in, Diane?
there's a condo in Brookline right across from the Star Market on Beacon Street. It's,
Oh, so a walk up?
no, it's 15 stories. It has an elevator.
Oh, so you mean the ones that are next to Star Market?
Yeah, it's on the same side as Star Market, but it's
Sure.
across the street. But I
Yeah.
really liked it. I looked around a lot before I bought this condo because I thought I'd be in a pretty building because there's a lot of nice architecture. But then I realized steps and bringing up groceries and whatever. So this building has a pool and an exercise room and 24-hour concierge. And I said, well, you know, it's not pretty, but it's really well run, and that's really what I cared about. And, you know, no, I mean, if I couldn't drive and I couldn't do steps, I
I
was
could just tell you, having broken my leg on living on the first floor,
yeah,
my leg, you're never really on the first floor. I can't tell you how many times I went down and up the stairs of my building on my bottom this
yeah,
winter.
yeah, 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 yeah. We don't realize even a short little step can be an
It's
impediment
true.
That's
if
right.
someone has a problem walking.
Ah,
If you're like me running up and down the stairs, that's when you fall.
I know. Well,
Taking hikes where the trail is really washed away and stuff like that.
you know what happened before I went to Israel? I tripped and I cut my leg on a curb. You know, my daughter drove me to the airport and she said, "Oh, I want to take a picture of you." And I had my heavy backpack and my two little luggages, and somehow my sandal got caught on whatever it was. And so I sort of injured my leg. And I didn't realize it. I mean, it hurt, but it wasn't a big deal. But when I went through like security and showed them my passport, I looked down and I saw the blood was dripping out of my pants. So I asked, for help because I wanted to have it bandaged and cleaned up and whatever one does to it. And so they did that for me. But then what happened when I was in Israel, I didn't realize, since they didn't put any antibiotic on it, that I did the same thing that they did. I washed it and I bandaged it. But then it got infected. And I woke up one morning and my leg was swollen from my knee to my ankle. And I had a big red, whatever it was. So I went to the emergency room and they, fixed me up and they gave me my medications. And that's when I discovered that the health system in Israel is, in a way, so much better than what we have. I went, to get the medication, and an actual pharmacist gives it to you and tells you about it and whatever. So,
I think most people who travel to almost any other country, maybe not Laos, maybe not, but any other first world developed country comes back and says, I can't believe how much better their healthcare is,
yeah,
if they
yeah,
need ER or,
yeah,
yeah,
we are.
yeah. I
And the
mean,
cost of everything was so much less that even though I bought insurance that I think I'll, sort of try to access, my whole trip with the X-ray and the whatever else was like $600. It wasn't like huge.
right,
Here
what it
was-
should be, yeah.
here-
Here to be
here it would be
6,000,
Yeah,
It would be, literally, yes.
right,
yeah,
right. Oh, my
yeah, I
goodness.
know, we're really missing the mark, but
In so many ways.
Yep.
I have to run, but
Yeah, me too.
I'm thank you all for
nice to get to know you.
organizing. Yes, for organizing the gift for Sam. I was actually
Yeah.
thinking about that one day, but I know you guys are pros at this and have it covered.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'll look forward to the email.
Yeah,
To
okay, and then once we have a
seeing-
date, we'll see how everything will work out.
Yes,
Yeah, but I'm not
exactly.
sure I have everyone's email, but but I know Mona's good at that. She
She
would
is.
like to have everyone. Yeah. Okay,
She is.
very good.
All right. Great.
Nice
See you
to
all
chat
soon.
with everyone here.
Great to see you all.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, take
Bye-bye.
care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.